بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد. Continuing our journey of fiqh and particularly continuing our discussion with regard to wudu. Today we talk about those things that nullify one's wudu, and in that particular instance the person will have to renew their wudu, particularly for the performance of salah, for touching the mushaf, for performing tawaf. And there are times when it will be recommended that a person does perform wudu, and that had been discussed in our previous lesson. So, as for those things that nullify one's wudu, the first is when a person passes urine or stool or passes wind, then the wudu will break. Number two, when blood or pus comes out of the body, and particularly the blood that passes the point of exit. So we have, for instance, a hole in the skin, a tiny hole, and if the blood just appears within that hole, the wudu will not break. But the moment it passes beyond that exit point, then wudu will definitely break, and that's in most instances. As for bleeding of the mouth, the gums are bleeding, then will that break the wudu or not? It depends if that if blood is more in the mouth than saliva, then one's wudu will break. But if the saliva is more than the blood in the mouth, then wudu will not break. Now, how does one gauge this? Basically, the scholars say if a person can taste the blood in their mouth, then they can consider that wudu broken and nullified. If a person vomits a mouthful, this too will break the wudu. And this is whether a person vomits out food or drink or bile or anything of that sort, even blood clots. Vomiting that is a mouthful will break the wudu, will nullify the wudu. Now, how do you to quantify what is a mouthful? It means it's just a term used to say that a person is vomiting, and the vomit is to the extent that they cannot hold it in their mouth. It just comes out of the mouth. So that is what is meant by a mouthful. A person cannot hold back the vomit within the mouth. If it is less than that amount, a person can hold the vomit in the mouth, and then later on they just take that out, then voluntarily take that out, then that's fine. The wudu will not break. So whether it's a mouthful or not, that will determine whether the wudu is broken or not. If it is a mouthful, a person could not hold back the vomit, wudu will break. If a person could hold back the vomit and held the vomit back, then wudu will not break. If a person sleeps and the buttocks are firmly placed, then too the wudu will not break. If the buttocks lift from the place where it was firmly resting on, then the wudu will break. And this particularly if the buttocks are lifting whilst they are asleep before waking up. When a person becomes faint or loses sanity or loses consciousness, in these instances, one's wudu will break upon gaining consciousness after fainting and coming back to normal. The person will have to renew their wudu. When a person is intoxicated as well, intoxication breaks the wudu. When a person laughs loud, a person who is baligh, who is mature in terms of the Sharia, who is considered to be a major in terms of the Sharia, if such a person laughs in a salah that comprises of a ruku' and a sajda, which means a general salah, your fard, your nafil salah, which would now exclude the janazah salah, which has no ruku', the janazah salah has no sajda. But all your normal salahs, if a person who is baligh, who is mature in terms of the sharia, laughs in that particular salah, wudu will break. However, if it is a child that laughs in a salah, in a normal salah, the child's wudu will not break. Similarly, if a person fell asleep and the person fell asleep in one of the postures of salah, such a person's wudu does not break. And if they happen to laugh in that sleep, then too their wudu will not break. If a person vomits phlegm, or I wouldn't say vomits phlegm, but rather if phlegm comes out of the mouth, that will not break the wudu. Tears do not break the wudu. And if, for instance, a person touches the private parts or touches someone of the opposite gender, then too their wudu will not break. So these are important considerations for us to keep in mind with regard to the nullifying factors of wudu. Obviously, there are other things that do nullify the wudu, and there are certain things that are commonly asked questions that the answer is it does not nullify the wudu. So most of these things are out there, but obviously, in the interest of time, we just cover these few basic ones. Inshallah, in our next discussion, we will speak about the aspect of ghusl, what we call a ritual bath. A person takes this bath to come out of the ritual state of major impurity. So, inshallah, that will be discussed in our next lesson. Until then, وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين في أمان الله والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. This session, and this short session, has proudly been brought to you by Muslim Online.